played 400-ish days of Stardew Valley Expanded. If you haven't seen the rest of the series, check those out first. You won't want to miss any details before today's finale. We've come a long way in the past few hundred days. And you'll notice I said 400-ish days? You'll see why later. But before we get started, I'd love if you could like and subscribe. These videos take many hours, and your support would mean the world. This time, we're going for 6 main goals, some of which were suggested in my comments, so thank you to everyone who put one in. Number 1. Hit 75% perfection. Let's see what we can get. Some of the next goals will contribute towards this. Number 2. Get at least 5 hearts with all villagers. Number 3. Reach 100 in Skull Caverns without using any staircases or bombs. This one's just for fun, really. Number 4. Build all the obelisks so we can get around easier. Number 5. Get those 3 weird secret statues, again, just for fun. And number 6. Get all of the star drops, which really is another way to just push me to catch all the fish, isn't it? So without further ado, let's begin. On day 301, I made that one more keg to put in the shed, so now it's completely full. With that now dealt with, I could then refill my jam jars before checking out the brand new secret woods. There are a bunch of new items to forage, and the whole area was so much bigger. This was so cool. After a fun day of exploration, my wine was ready, so I refilled the kegs with starfruit. If I wanted to get everyone to 5 hearts or more, I needed to start right now. So my first gift went to Marlon, but wasn't the most successful. As I rode back into town, I got this cutscene with Abigail. For this video, I vowed to never skip a single cutscene. Are you proud of me? Ah yeah? On day 302, I saved up enough gold to buy the island obelisk, so of course that was the first thing I did, making use of it right away to check on my Ginger Island farm and work on getting those remaining walnuts. For this, I used Wickedy's guide to help me. I couldn't remember which ones I'd already got, so I literally followed the entire guide, checking each and every one. And yep, I finally figured out how to get this damn walnut. That afternoon, I decided to check the perfection tracker to see how much further we had to go to meet our goals, and to see how many walnuts were left. I was determined to get the rest on day 303, starting with this flute block puzzle, and getting the final walnut from this tree. I still had the shiny lunaloo to catch from Ginger Island, so I sat getting soggy at the beach, waiting for the evening to arrive, which is the time of day to catch it, but I quickly got bored of that. So I popped off home to find my cranberries were ready, which meant I now had something to do. Okay, now it was time to go catch that lunaloo. But honestly, this thing is ridiculously hard, and after a several minute fight, I failed. Ugh. So I went home to cook a seafoam pudding for assistance, and went right back to try again. Success. Oh my god, I got it.
Nice.
I'm so glad I don't have to do it again. On day 304, I picked all of my beets, started some more cranberry jelly, and added a couple of new crystallariums to the crystallarium room. I got this cutscene with Shane whilst on my way to catch the brand new bull trout, and continued with my fishing progress by trying to get the grass carp from the secret woods, but these are only available in spring and summer, and it took me a while to realise that. My inventory was full anyway, so I went home to sell. On day 305, I wanted to figure out once and for all which museum piece was missing. The way I did this was I took a screenshot of the museum and then went through screenshots of the collections tab, crossing off the ones I had already donated, and here is the result. I was missing a Bixite, which I found in magma geodes and omni geodes, so I headed to Clint's with all the ones I had, but after all of those, I had no luck. I did end up saving a lot of the minerals and stuff for clothing though. I needed some more geodes, so after giving the dwarf some spaghetti, I bought some more bombs and jumped into the lower floors of the mines because I thought I'd end up with the best chances of getting Bixite from the magma geodes. This isn't actually the best way to do this. After recording this, I found out that the tiles with the geodes are predetermined, which means you can just go to that floor over and over again to hit the same rock when it's there, and pretty much guarantee a geode each time. But I didn't know that yet. This meant I woke up the next day with 25 magma geodes, but it's Friday, so Clint won't be there. Instead, I did my greenhouse chores and went to Ginger Island to set off a new batch of starfruit, including a quick trip to Sandy because I ran out of seeds. I made use of the rest of the day on my quest to earn everyone's friendship with spaghetti, except Lance, who apparently doesn't like it. On day 307, I caught the scorpion carp and made another attempt at catching the bonefish. Success! When I got back to town, I got this cutscene with Marnie, who taught me how to make cheese wheels. This makes cheese more valuable. And whilst I was there, I bought a few new pigs using the bulk animal purchase mod, which means I can buy more than one at once. I learnt about this mod from GamerGuy's video, so thanks to him for making me aware of its existence. that afternoon, I had lunch with Andy and wasted a rabbit's foot on Morgan, who only thinks they're neutral. Then, it was time for Spirit's Eve. I brought myself the Rarecrow because I couldn't remember if I had it yet, and claimed this year's golden pumpkin. The last day of fall began with a cranberry harvest. Being a Sunday, it was a new gifting week, so I dropped off some rabbit's feet, got this cutscene with Alex and Dusty, and had a drink with Pierre. I finally went and processed those geodes from the other day, and thankfully I got the Bixite I needed. So of course I went and donated it right away, getting the complete collection achievement and collecting that star drop. Now, the only star drop I needed was the one for Master Angler, and we were really quite close at this point. I celebrated by picking up this tree on the crane game, and then popped to Robin's to build another fish pond. Back at the farm, I refilled my kegs with starfruit, which meant we went to sleep making a decent amount of money. Day 309. I had big plans this winter to reorganise how I farm, starting with moving all of these sprinklers and clearing out space for them at Aurora Vineyard. I dropped into Sophia's to buy more pressure nozzles when I decided to look closer at the wine. Turns out it's great for luck. Look at the aged one, +7 luck? Day 310 and the prep continued. Clearly, I miscounted how large the sprinkler radius was, so I made some adjustments and held the spots using fibre seeds. But the most annoying thing is you can't remove these little bushes like you can on the regular farm. I did need to take a break from that, so I headed to Sprite Springs to pick up the flowers and find out what these comments alluded to. Noticing this cave behind the waterfall, I went to check it out and found all these mushrooms and ancient fruit. I am bummed that I did not know about this sooner. When I got home, I crafted a couple of mini obelisks because for some reason I'd not made any yet, dropping one outside my house and the other up by the warp room because I seem to travel between those places the most often. Later, I got this cutscene with Kent, who was thinking about joining the Adventurers Guild, going in there myself to give another bad guess for gift to Lance. Bit of an oops, but at least I managed to catch the ice pip today. It then took me till 9 PM to remember that all that aged wine was ready, so I quickly refilled all my casks. Here comes the money! Oh wait, I forgot there's still quite a lot of blueberry wine. Ew. On day 311, I got a special request from Andy to help him make some preserves jars. He needed quite a lot of materials, but the only thing I was really missing was a single iron bar, which luckily I was already smelting. Here you go, Andy. Enjoy, sir. I finally got around to shutting my barn doors because I'm sure my animals were just loving the freezing draft, and then placed down a few grass starters so that they could spread in the spring. My new fish pond was also done, so I chucked in a kitty fish and ended the day by adding some more mayo machines to my shed. On day 312, I traded 3 prismatic shards for a magic rock candy in the desert, before speeding off to Ginger Island to destroy the invading weeds and harvest my pineapples. Without forgetting to drop a mango to Leo, of course. But I didn't stay long because I wanted to make some more casks to add to the Aurora Vineyard cellar. All those casks meant I needed some more hardwood, so I chopped down the mahogany trees at the spring by my farm. This was all for my goal of making more money. With that in mind, I needed to expand my tree tapper farm to make a bunch more kegs, so I planted and fertilised more oak trees. On day 313, I got a new recipe from Leo, then spent some time making a bunch of new clothes with the artifacts. I wandered into the saloon to restock my supply of spaghetti when I found this recipe, which was new for the latest update, so it was a good thing I came. New recipe had some new berries in it, so I tried to look them up on the wiki, but there wasn't really any information on them yet, so I have to figure it out myself. This made me forget what I actually came in here for, so I left without buying any spaghetti at all. I found one of the berries, the bearberry, in the secret woods, but had no luck yet finding out how to get the salal berry. On day 314, I realised I forgot to harvest my ancient fruit the day before, so I decided to move that day to every Sunday so it's just one big wine day. But today, I ventured into the Crimson Badlands, looking for crafting materials, and because I wanted to slay that massive corrupted serpent, although I did spend most of the time running. Because we do have to take care of all the little ones first. And after a long and difficult fight, oh no, I died. Annoyingly, I lost some of the stuff I came here for, but I didn't let that get me down. I just grabbed some food and jumped right back in to try again. This time, we succeeded. Day 315 was my first officially named wine day, so I harvested my ancient fruit from the greenhouse and Grandpa's shed, before refilling my kegs with a new batch of wine. It was also a starfruit day, so I popped over to Ginger Island to handle that, and then went on a little grifting spree around town, getting this little cutscene with Elliot, which I've never seen before because honestly, I always forget to make friends with him. Day 316 was the Festival of Ice, so I used this opportunity to torture everyone for those sweet, sweet friendship points and wipe the floor with everyone at the fishing contest. Day 317 was a good luck day, so I geared up to go to Skull Caverns. With the magic rock candy and the aged blue moon wine, that meant it had plus 12 luck with me, so let's test it out. It wasn't long before I got my first treasure floor, which was yam seeds. Yikes. This was closely followed by melon seeds. Let's see what else we get. Now that's more like it. I planned to have this cool little montage of all the things that I got, but then my inventory got full and ruined it. I did get really excited about the second auto petter though. Out of the 330 floors I visited, 32 of them were treasure floors. So I woke up the next morning with all of these goodies. Although it's worth noting that I threw away any seeds I got, some of the food, and some of the duplicate hats. When I checked my mail, I got this cool thing to commemorate having made 10 million gold. So I slapped it down in my house with this awkward line of furniture, and then added that second auto petter to my coop. It was Sebastian's birthday today, so in typical non-friend fashion, I waited creepily outside his bedroom door for him to leave so that I could give him his gift of a frozen tear, which meant I got this cutscene with him on my way out. I started day 319 by bringing some breakfast to Lance, but it turns out he hates pancakes too. After harvesting my pineapples, I sprayed on some monster musk to help me with some coal farming for the rest of the evening. Day 320 was Gunther's birthday, so I brought him a blueberry because it matches him, and then handed out some spaghetti. I got this cutscene with Sam, which was like being at a silent disco. But yeah, I picked the dance music. I also got this cutscene with Shane, which means we can finally get ourselves some blue chickens. And of course, we had to buy one right away, which the game named Whiskers. I wanted to bash out one of my main goals pretty early, so I made haste to Jodie's house to pop a strange bun in Vincent's toy box, receiving weird statue number 1. From there, I went to hunt for my location number 2. In Stardew Valley Expanded, the HGMTF statue is not behind Clint's. It's up at this spot behind the community centre. Whilst I was there, I tried to find that stone Junimo again behind the community centre, but with no success. So I turned my attention to the saloon, where I picked up my third and final secret statue. On day 321, I added more casks to my Aurora Vineyard cellar before planting loads of mahogany trees out in the desert. I gifted Sandy some cheese, which I can only hope didn't melt in the heat, but then it was back to the Freezing Valley to buy the furniture catalogue, and to ask for a slime hutch to be built. I'd never built one of these before, and I didn't know till now how monstrously large it is. I'm gonna have to rearrange some stuff first, and this location will have to do. I got this lovely cutscene at Pierre's with all of the local farmers, where I stopped by to buy the floor and wall catalogue. I wanted to decorate my house, and I did rearrange a few things and change some of the floors and wallpapers and stuff, but it didn't take me long to get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of choice. I am happy with the crystallarium room though, I think. On day 322, I started with my weekly ancient fruit harvest, made a big batch of coffee in the keg shed, and set off the next lot of cranberry jelly. By the time I dealt with that, the coffee was ready, so I refilled the kegs with starfruit. Being a new gifting week, I went around town handing out some cheese, this now being my main gift of choice. When I got home, I was excited to see the kitty fish needed something. They said it was 15 strange buns? Absolutely not. On day 323, Marlon greeted me on my doorstep with a slime egg because the slime hutch was now complete. I didn't really read anything properly though, so I made myself a slime egg incubator, not realising there's already one in there. Oh well, now we can hatch 2 eggs at once. I also slapped the sprinkler down in here because I know that the slimes need water. I got this new cutscene with Marlon and Gunther, who asked me if I can help Gunther with a bit of cave diving. So of course I obliged, so I'll have to remember to come back tomorrow morning. The rest of this day was spent in the regular mines. I can't quite remember why, but I'm guessing it was for stone. I did, however, take a quick break to go shopping at the night market. I spent day 324 in Skull Caverns as it was a good luck day. This was the day I decided to tackle the challenge goal of getting to floor 100 without any bumps and stairs. And we made it before 3 PM. Yes! In fact, I carried on to see how far I could go, and ended up passing out on floor 213. So on day 325, I came home with a few prismatic shards and a couple hundred iridium ore. But other than that, the treasure floors were kinda meh. I forgot to help Gunther the day before, but luckily he was still waiting for me at the Adventurers Guild today. And it was a good thing I was there because I saved him from this evil slime. That afternoon, I went to Ginger Island getting this cutscene with Leo on my way to harvest the starfruit a day late. And in the evening, I went on a little gifting spree at the night market. Also buying this painting. On day 326, I received payment from Gunther for yesterday, and a note to say that my secret friend this year is Robin. My first 2 slimes had hatched, so I put a couple more eggs in the incubator before taking a quick trip to the desert to buy a magic rock candy and some more starfruit seeds. I moved my coop to a new location because my animals kept running out of grass in that other area, and then added this little path around it. But best of all, we made some perfection progress today by building the last 2 obelisks. I didn't really like where I had the slime hutch, so I tried to move it elsewhere, but it literally didn't really fit anywhere suitable, so I pretty much just put it back where it was. And I put my shipping bin in this corner as well, because I thought it made more sense. Lastly, I rearranged my obelisks in this formation because I feel like it looks nicer. What do you guys think? On day 327, I moved this mini obelisk because I kept accidentally teleporting when I tried to refill my furnaces. I chopped wood in Cindersap for a bit before deciding to change my profession for this, so I went home and added to my tree tapper farm. When I got my early night that night, the professions kind of glitched, so I couldn't change them. This meant that I had to go back to the sewers the next morning and spend another 10 grand. When I got home, it was time for the next batch of cranberry jelly, and then I filled this gap with the last furnace because honestly, it was bothering me. I wanted to try and get some more stuff to decorate my farm from the crane game, but when I got to the theatre, this dude was in my way. How dare! I said hello to Martin with some cheese, and left to drop into the library where I got this cutscene. It was really cool to see everyone enjoying the completed museum, and I also got this cutscene in Andy's new cellar, where he gave me his jam recipe, making strawberries worth more money. Overnight, I managed to change my foraging professions to forester and lumberjack. After receiving the Galdoran gem in the mail from Gunther, and 50 Jojo Colas from Andy, which why? Just why? I picked up some more staircases from the desert, then headed back to the valley to chop wood in West Cindersap for the rest of the day. And in doing so, I found this little cave that took me a minute to figure out, but when I did, it revealed the bear's shop, which included 2 new recipes that I definitely had to pick up. On day 330, I deposited most of my freshly chopped wood and dealt with the wine I forgot about yesterday before heading up to Robin's to ask for a 3rd shed because I needed to expand my wine production if we were to have any hope of making the amount of money we need. Everyone seemed to be passing through town, so I used this opportunity to work on friendships. And to be honest, we were starting to make some really good progress, but we still had quite a way to go. I hopped over to the Crimson Badlands for a bit to find Camilla selling some super cool elixirs. The lightning one in particular has +8 speed. I need that. But also, I picked up the barbarian one which boosts your attack. This evening was spent chopping wood because I happened to pick up Robin's resource rush again, and I might as well make the most of it. Once that was done, I went back to the sewers to change my profession back because I was probably done with wood for now. On day 331, Leah greeted me at my door with this sculpture. Thanks. It's lovely? I chose to display it in my kitchen, then went to see her again, and she's making another one of those sculptures. Now I feel less special. I tried to go in again and got another cutscene. But with all those over with, it was time to give her some birthday cheese. I didn't stay long because it was a good luck day, so I ate some magic rock candy and dove into Skull Caverns for the day. Besides your usual blowing stuff up and jumping down holes, we got another auto batter. I'm feeling lucky, although honestly, other than that, the haul was pretty mediocre. On day 332, I manually pet my pigs for the last time and slapped down that auto petter so I could forget about my truffle finding machines. I went coal farming for a bit, but I got bored of that and went to Clint's to buy some instead so that I could smelt more metal to make more kegs for my brand new shed. That evening, I wanted to top up my spaghetti supply, but this dingus bought a load of pizza instead. On day 332, I wanted to buy something from Mr. Key's shop, but then it dawned on me that I only had 1 key gem, so it was time to pick up a new key quest. I went with the prismatic range because I'd already been saving the items, so this should be pretty easy. But I can't do that yet because today is the Feast of the Winter Star. So after saying hello to everyone, I gave Robin some goat's cheese for her gift, and received an iridium bar from Clint. I didn't want to forget about Sandy, so I stopped by the desert and gave her a gift too. But also, I wanted that last rarecrow, so I went to the casino and bought all the key coins I needed for it, grabbing that rarecrow to take home. It can chill up here for now. During the night, Wallow gave birth to a baby pig, which the game named Shadow. And on day 334, I was expecting a mail with a deluxe scarecrow recipe, but it didn't come. So I went around the farm and gathered up all the rarecrows I had to try and figure out what was missing. I knew I had the witch one somewhere, so the one I was missing was the snowman, which was especially annoying because we just had the Festival of Ice not that long ago. Luckily, the travelling merchant can sell this one, so I'm glad it wasn't any of the others that were missing. But she didn't have it today, so we're gonna have to keep checking. It was Starfruit Day, but before I dealt with that, I wanted to hand in my key quest, So I dropped in all the items except the blackberries, which don't count as purple? I'm gonna have to find something else. So I went home and grabbed everything purple I could think of that wasn't too valuable. But looking back now, I don't know why I didn't just think of using void essence, because I had an actual buttload of the stuff. But I ended up depositing some of my iridium ore, which to me is blue, but whatever. With my new key gems, I bought a few pressure nozzles, then got around to replanting my starfruit. On day 335, it was time for a new batch of cranberry jelly. It was also Sophia's birthday, so I trotted over to her house with a fairy rose, which she loved. So that was another friendship complete. I foraged over at Sprite Springs before rearranging my sprinklers at Aurora Vineyard with the new pressure nozzles. I still had 10 iridium sprinklers left over, so I made use of them by setting them up in the Grampleton fields for spring, and gave them a little path border. I started day 336 by checking the travelling merchant, but all she was selling was pure disappointment, so I went home to harvest my ancient fruit. My silo was empty, so I quickly refilled it for my starving animals, then wandered around town for a little gifting spree. I wanted to come get some tea leaves, but for some reason I got this cutscene again. I still got what I needed though. When I left, I got this really sad cutscene with George, which I'm not sure if it's in the vanilla game or not, so I won't spoil anything. I checked in on my slime hutch to notice that all of my slimes were female, so I incubated my last egg and placed a slime press to make another just in time for all the wine to be done. Spring had sprung on day 337, but before we could get our seeds, Leah was at our door telling us about her art show. After she left, I cleared the debris from my farm and let out my animals who were all hangry, so whilst they were eating, I went to Pierre's to grab my seeds. This year, I was going for a different approach, as I needed ingredients for recipes, so I brought a sprinkler's worth of each crop, with the rest of the space to be filled with cauliflower. Then it was time for the first big planting of the year, but before I could forget, I did go grab some rhubarb from Sandy too. I wanted the chance at a large cauliflower here, so I knocked down this pumpkin and replaced it with cauliflower seeds. It took me all day to plant my farm as well as finishing setup of Aurora Vineyard, so I had to complete planting of the Grampleton fields on day 338. Before I could do that, I was back at PS to buy more cauliflower seeds, because it turned out I made a massive miscalculation and had nowhere near enough. But we managed to get everything prepped, planted and watered by the early afternoon. This meant I was now free to attend Leah's art show, even though it was meant to be yesterday, and after all that hard work, I chilled out with a bit of crane game, taking home this cute little Junimo plush. I was also back at the casino again, because I spotted something cool in the shop here. A statue of treasure? I didn't know what it did yet, but it looked cool. On day 339, I found out the statue gives us artifact troves, which I suppose makes sense when you look at it. Being a new season, I checked the secret woods for new forageables and fished for the grass carp. On day 340, Marlon was at my door telling me to drop by the guild. So after a quick IRL snack, I headed up to the mountain, getting this Linus cutscene along the way which told me about his past. When I got to the guild, Marlon was finally going to give me permission to use his boat, but first, I had a quest to do. I missed this detail initially though, and was confused when I came out and still couldn't use the boat, so I left that for now and went mining for radioactive ore as it was a good luck day. Eventually, I caught on to the need to help Marlon before we could use his boat, so I went home to gather the necessary items ready to give to him the next morning. Now, we just had to wait, so I went home to harvest my first truffles of the year, as well as my first crops of the year. I went and checked on Sophia because she was upset earlier, and then I got a cutscene with Andy at Aurora Vineyard where he told me about the history of the place. I was loving learning about the lore. Same with the Hat Mouse too. Super cool. What I didn't appreciate was Andy then kicking me off my own property. Sir, you are the one who needs to hippity-hoppity out here. But I did anyway because I wanted to check in with Sophia again, staying to watch anime with her, which did help her feel better. I then went home to plant some more potatoes and open up the other barn that I completely forgot about. On day 342, Marlon was at my door again asking me to greet him at his dock, but before I could go to him, I had to take care of the spreading weeds on my Ginger Island farm. With that now done, to the boat! After a super long journey, we arrived at Lance's outpost where we discussed the strange seeds from this region, so I was tasked with growing them and bringing them back to Lance. The cutscene brought me back to the valley, so of course I hopped right back on that boat for some exploring, but got another cutscene letting me know to expect some elixirs in the mail. I didn't want to wait for those though, so I ventured out right away, and it didn't take me long to pick up some new seeds. I also found this cave which had so many ores, but also so many monsters. But I fought my way through because I needed to catch the gemfish here, which turned out to be far too difficult without buffs. So I left to find this area with all these mystic nodes, coming away with 5 prismatic shards. On day 343, I woke up with 24 life elixirs in my mail from Lance, before going to deal with my starfruit. Being a Sunday, it was wine day, so I dealt with my usual weekly chores, then fished up some of my midnight carp because I really needed more seafoam pudding if I wanted any hope of catching that gemfish. After grabbing some of the abundant ores in the Highlands cave, I ate my seafoam pudding, determined to catch that fish. It took me the entire day of failing, till finally, at 1:10 AM, we caught it. I never want to do that again. That night, we made 800,000 gold, and on day 344, I used some of that to buy the hero elixir recipe from Isaac, not forgetting to give Lance a birthday gift while we were there too. I still had some exploring to do, so it was back to the Highlands where I found this dino which actually killed me. Luckily, Lance saved me and I didn't lose anything. I wasted no time in trying again, and this time I managed to kill it. It dropped some treasure, and a golden key? Not sure what that was for just yet. There was one more area I hadn't seen here yet, so I broke the stumps to find some cool ruins where these little mushroom monsters lived. These dropped various mushrooms as well as the fungus seeds I needed. I also had one more fish to catch here, so I grabbed myself a daggerfish, leaving 4 fish left before I could get the Master Angler achievement. On day 345, I went to plant my fungus seeds on Ginger Island, then got home to see some of my crops were now ready, but for some reason I ignored them for now. I ended up looking up what that key was for, and I needed to locate an area of the Highland Cave which had a dwarf who needed saving. We let the little guy out and he seemed grateful. Then, I spent the rest of the day clearing out the cave. Day 346 was Vincent's birthday, but when I got to his house I got this weird cutscene with Sam. Who offers raw egg as a snack? I'm so confused. Anyway, happy birthday Vincent, enjoy your grapes. I got this cutscene with Haley outside Marnie's ranch where we took some pictures with some cows, but then she fell, and I was expecting her to be mad, but she said she had fun. On day 347, I grabbed all of my rabbit's feet to keep with me, because I wanted to make more progress with friendships. I got a cutscene with Krobus playing with a Junimo, so I went to ask Krobus what's up, and he said they went to show him the Junimo village, which is so cute. On this day, I pretty much just rode around town giving out gifts to whoever we needed to improve friendship with, and as you can see, we've made some great progress. We still had a long way to go, but one of them was about to get quite a bit easier because we got the cutscene asking Leo to move to Stardew Valley, which of course I thought this was a great idea. Whilst I was on Ginger Island, I did go ahead and check my perfection progress to see we're at 62%, so very much approaching our 75% target. With that in mind, I went to the mutant bug lair to catch another new fish, the water grub. Gross. On day 348, I checked the travelling merchant who still didn't have the rare crow I needed. I went up to the mountains to give Leo a gift and passed his lovely new home. I just installed the Look Up Anything mod, and found out that this weird looking thing I'd not caught yet was dulse seaweed, and honestly, it was the entire reason I installed the mod because I don't think I'd have figured that out myself. I tried to fish for it at the beach, but I didn't have any luck today. On day 349, I harvested all of the crops on my farm, and now I realised that I left them there so that the soil would be ready and watered for the strawberries I was about to buy. I did also put down some speed growth to get that 3rd strawberry harvest. When I got to the festival, I bought 900 strawberry seeds because I couldn't remember how many I needed. Then it was time for the egg hunt, except this year I did one of my worst performances yet. At 6 eggs, I lost this year to Abigail. It's okay, I lost on purpose. I had to let someone else have a go this time. I just want to plant my strawberries and forget about it. On day 350, I picked my rhubarb and made some into a pie. I checked the merchant who was, once again, absolutely useless, before adding more kegs to my second shed and starting a new batch of wine, making us a decent amount of money today. On day 351, I picked up all the slime from the slime hutch, and managed to catch Claire with a gift on her way to work. It was Olivia's birthday, so I gave her one of my gold quality wines, which she loved. I just found out there were new forageables at the summit, which meant I missed out on the Winter Star Rose because I didn't visit the summit once last season. And we need it for a cooking recipe. No! Absolutely gutted. At least the first of my monster crops were ready, the slime berries and the void root, and in their place I planted the ancient fern seeds. On day 352, I got the recipe for mango sticky rice, so now I could take care of the trash bear's request. But when I went to give it to him, he was asking for something else instead. So I returned with a baked berry oatmeal, and next he wanted some rice pudding. So I went home to make some, and took it over to him. And now he seemed to be satisfied. In return, this area was cleaned up. Look how much better it looks. But also, he brought Dusty a treat which was absolutely adorable. Then, whilst I was by the sewers, I went to catch the snatcher worm, which looks really nasty. Ew. And because of that, I needed a dose of cute, so I started a puppyfish pond. The amount of time spent harvesting was starting to get to me, considering that I had expanded the farm in various locations. So I put out a poll asking whether or not I should add the harvest with scythe mod, which was met with a resounding yes. So on day 353, I got to test it out on Ginger Island, and oh my god, it's so satisfying. I forgot about all of my other cauliflower till now, so I scrambled to slap down some speed grow so that I could plant my rhubarb in time for the end of spring. It was evening by the time I finished Aurora Vineyard, so I pickled my cauliflowers and went to bed. On day 354, I found out I could harvest truffles with the scythe, which was fun. I popped to Ginger Island to hand in a couple of monster crops to Lance. After picking up some more speed grow from Sandy, as well as some more rhubarb seeds, I sped off to Grampleton Fields to do the cauliflower rhubarb swap here. I also added a couple more sprinklers because I found them in a chest and I didn't want them to go to waste. Although I don't know why I placed them like this, it's looking a little bit awkward. On day 355, my first strawberries were ready. I have no idea how I'm going to live without the harvest with scythe mod now. I sold the quality ones and kept the rest for the preserves jars. I started chipping away at the crafting so I didn't have to do everything at once. And in doing so, I realised I didn't have enough garlic to craft the oil of garlic, so I brought some more seeds from Pierre and planted them in the spare spots next to the potential large cauliflower. As it was a Friday, I went to check the travelling merchant. Did she have my rare grow? No, she did not. I had run out of coal, so the rest of the evening was spent smacking bouncy mushrooms with some monster musk, because just like the dust sprites, these drop coal too. On day 356, I literally just worked on friendships and got this cutscene with Krobus when I went to see him, and ended up buying some pink cake from him. On day 357, I visited the desert trader to get some staircases, because I wanted to tackle Key's Hungry Challenge once and for all, which meant I can't eat or drink whilst inside our cabins for the day. I had to do it today, even though there was bad luck, because it was literally the final day before the quest was going to expire, so I just staircased the entire way, making it to floor 100 before 10 AM, and getting another dark cowboy hat. Because of the bad luck day, I did end up going home from here. It was wine day after all, so I had that to deal with. And of course, the traditional fruitless travelling merchant trip. On day 358, I received a mail from Andy asking me to come over, because he wanted to show me something, so I made haste to his farm to find out what it was. He showed me this lovely photo of Aurora Vineyard in its prime. Looks like this is what we have to live up to. I gave him a gift before I left and managed to max out his friendship. I got a cutscene with Harvey about my annual checkup, and thankfully I was healthy. I actually stopped by to buy a couple of things because for some reason I needed to ship a stamina capsule and a sports drink for perfection, and this was the only place I knew I could get a hold of them. I needed a new key quest, so I accepted the extended family one again, and whilst I was there I bought the heavy tapper recipe, as well as the aquatic sanctuary, with plans to house these quest fish. On this day, I caught Miss Angler, then spent the rest of the night trying to catch the Legend 2 with no success. On day 359, I harvested my strawberries as well as my garlic and... Oops. And what was definitely my first time playing day 359, I harvested my strawberries as well as skillfully harvesting my garlic before pickling some more cauliflower. I cleared out my fruit cave, which honestly I'd forgotten about, and then headed to the beach where I found a new recipe in Willie's shop. Whilst I was there, I got some trout soup to help me with the key quest, and managed to catch the son of Crimson Fish. Then, it was onto the sewers, where I successfully caught the radioactive carp, later followed by the Glacierfish Jr., but the Legend 2 was still playing hard to get. So on day 360, I ignored the flower dance and went back to the lake to try again with the seafoam pudding, but I literally didn't even encounter it before the buff ran out. Well actually, I didn't see it at all till 10 PM, but this fish was having none of it. I passed out by the lake, legendless, so we failed the quest this time. On day 361, I wanted to prep in advance for summer, so I went to Pierre's to pre-buy the seeds we needed. I followed the same setup as spring, with a sprinkler for each crop I needed for ingredients, and the rest to be filled with starfruit seeds. And I actually bought a whole load of them so that I was stocked up, and some deluxe speed grow since I was there. I then went into the casino to buy the statue of Endless Fortune, finding a suitable spot for it in the house before harvesting my truffles. I got a cutscene where Sandy was visiting town, and we spent the day visiting the sights of Pelican Town with Emily. I very much love this cutscene. On day 362, I had the last of my monster crops to harvest, as well as the next set of starfruit. I pickled some more cauliflower, and then bought the deluxe retaining soil recipe on my way to find Lance to hand in those monster crops. When I got home, using my new soil, I decided to plant some tea saplings in my house because I like how they look. Day 363 was the final strawberry harvest of the year, and I also had some rhubarb ready too. After finally getting around to fixing the greenhouse path, I chilled out by foraging for the last time this spring. The next morning, Lance was at my door, here to talk about those monster crops. He let me know that there was a reward chest waiting for me in his house. Once I dealt with my wine day duties, I harvested my rhubarb from Aurora Vineyard, added more casks to the cellar there, and grabbed my remaining crops from the Grampleton fields. It was evening by then, so I wasted no more time and took the boat to the Highlands, where I was met with this cutscene with a dwarf opening a brand new shop. Whoa. Here he sold all these really cool decoratives. But hey, let's be honest, I instantly forgot this existed. With that distraction over with, I opened the chest in Lance's outpost, receiving the Diamond Wand. What the? This wand teleports flying enemies away from you, which was cool, but I probably won't use it much. I went to sleep for the final time this season, making 370,000 gold. When I walked outside on day 365, I realised I forgot to harvest those last cauliflowers that never merged, so that's kind of a rip. Lol, look at me struggle to find the right emote. The rest of this day was your usual busy start to the season, prepping the fields and planting seeds, even managing to get done Grampleton Fields and Aurora Vineyard on this day. My aged wine was finally ready on day 366, so I rearranged my basement casks to fit more of them in because more aged wine means more dollar. I even managed to cram a few more into this room in Grandpa's old shed. All this wine production made me decide we had no more room for the child, so I took a prismatic shard to the witch's hut and turned her into a dove. That night, we'd made 1.7 million gold. So on day 367, we were nearly halfway to our golden clock. This day was dedicated to gift giving, as we were still quite a way away from full friendship with everyone. And to finish off, I played the crane game till I got the Wumba statue. What a true work of art. Day 368 was Jazz's birthday, so I gave her an Iridium Fairy Rose from Sprite Springs before heading to the secret woods to pick up the new forageables. I got a cutscene with Susan, crafting a dress together. She shared a technique with me that makes casks, kegs, and preserves jars cheaper to make. I should have made friends with her sooner, really. From there, I climbed to the summit to collect the summer flowers, then spent the rest of the day in the harder mines for radioactive ore and coal. On day 369, I asked Robin to upgrade my second shed because I needed more room for more kegs. And then I fished at the beach, finally getting that dull seaweed, which was weird because it fought like a fish. Absolutely baffling. Like, why? On day 370, I hung out with some of the townies at the beach resort. I didn't stay long though because I had some starfruit to harvest, except when I got to the farm, it wasn't ready yet. Seems I made a bit of a miscalculation, but it was a good thing I came here because we had some weeds to clear. Then it was back to the harder mines once again. On day 371, my radishes were ready, so I swiped them, storing most of them in my fridge so I could cook some new recipes. I hopped over to Ginger Island to collect that starfruit I thought was going to be done yesterday, adding all but the gold ones to my kegs for more wine. My second shed had finished upgrading, so I added more kegs to fill the space. More wine, please! On day 372, I noticed that my dulse seaweed laid eggs? What the hell? This was another day of gifting, but also Gus was finally at Ginger Island, so I could buy these 2 recipes from him which I'd been waiting for a while. Mr. Key was offering the extended family quest again, and this time I was determined to do it. Nothing was going to stop me. Armed with several different bobbers, I headed to the beach first, where I was interrupted by this cutscene from Vincent, and don't worry, I still watched it, and honestly, this ended up being a little bit sad. With that out of the way, I bought a load of trout soup because I didn't have enough stuff for more seafoam pudding. It took me all afternoon to encounter the son of Crimson Fish this time, then I went up to the lake to attempt the Legend 2 again, and actually, this time I got super lucky and got a pretty calm one, meaning I got to catch it on the first day. After harvesting some crops on day 373, I got a cutscene with Martin at the library. Then, I went back to making progress with a fishing quest. I caught the radioactive carp, followed by the glacierfish junior, and as you can see, I got the key gems for completing it. So at some point I caught Miss Angler too, but I literally can't find the footage anywhere. But hey, I did it, and that's what matters, right? You know what that means? It means you have to subscribe. Do it. I can wait. On day 374, my starfruit is ready. Thanks to the Harvest with Scythe mod, we managed to get all locations picked and replanted in one day. Selling the gold quality fruit and the truffles that day, along with a few other things, we made over 300,000 gold. Day 375 was the luau, so I yeeted in a magma cap, much to everyone's delight, which helped greatly with our friendship progress. On day 376, I foraged in the secret woods where I found this shrub seed. This was the seed that was going to grow the salal berry I needed, so I sped off to Ginger Island with some hyperspeed grow and shoved it in the ground. Whilst I was there, I bought a deconstructor from Mr. Key's shop, so that I could get a steady supply of stone from staircases. I finally ran out of wood again, so I had to go chopping, coming home at the end of the day with just over a stack. On day 377, I made some more rhubarb jelly and brought Alex a birthday breakfast. I got a cutscene with Maru where I had to help her with a load of math, and thankfully I got the questions right without even looking them up. I got another cutscene right after where she electrocuted me, and I'm gonna have to think twice before helping her with math problems again next time. Later that day, I found Sandy wandering around Cindersap. It's so cool to see her this side of town. I then spent the rest of the evening deconstructing staircases and turning wood into coal so that I can make more preserves jars, except I kinda made casks again. Oh. This meant I could only make 8 more preserves jars because I ran out of wood. So on day 378, I had to go chop some more until suddenly I remembered that it was wine day, so I had to go sort that out, spending the rest of the evening in the kitchen, chipping away at the cooking recipes. Day 379 started with yet more cooking, and ended with a cutscene with Lance where we got to assist him with some field research. Actually, I lied. It ended with buying a heckload more starfruit seeds from Sandy and scoring a D in the Solarian Chronicles scenario. Yikes. On day 380, I harvested a bunch of starfruit and caught a rainbow trout for a recipe. I went home to cook it right away, and caught a void salmon to put in one of the fish ponds, also to use for recipes. On day 381, I gave Sam a cactus fruit for his birthday, which meant we had another friendship completed. I was out of coal again, so I dropped down in the mines with some monster musk for the afternoon, passing out with 143 more coal. The following morning, Sam was at my door inviting me to his concert tonight. I checked in on my very full slime hutch, which I'd clearly forgotten about for a while, although it was super satisfying to clear up. I got around to finishing filling my second shed with kegs, and spent a fun evening in the city at the concert. On day 383, I got a thank you letter from Sam, and a copper bar from Clint in the mail. My second batch of home starfruit was ready, so this day was dedicated to harvesting and replanting this huge amount of crops. On day 384, I tore down the kids' room to make into another wine area, but annoyingly, you can't move the crib. I managed to work around it and place down another 25 kegs. Day 385 was a wine day, and you know how that goes by now. But also, being a new gifting week, I was running around with fun things for the villagers. Although to be fair, I'd actually been doing this quite often. Just, if I showed you every single one of my gifting sprees, this video would be excessively long. But yeah, just know that I'm trying to keep up with it. Oh, and I did also go do a big staircase trade at the desert today. On day 386, I chopped wood again and added more void eggs to Morgan's gifting chest. Back at the farm, I deposited my 2 stacks of wood, with which I made 15 more jam jars. That shed is getting closer to being finished now. Luckily, the next round of jam was done on day 387, so I can fill those new jars too. I then carefully selected some of my worst and cheapest eggs to give to Gus for another one of his famous omelettes, and then spent the afternoon at the mountain lake fishing for chub for Willy. I finished the quest by 7 PM, which meant we were close to filling his friendship. On day 388, I hung out in the volcano for the day, looking for the hot Java ring, but my efforts were fruitless. Day 389 was a Ginger Island starfruit harvest. As we were now closing in on our next 100 days, I went to check on my perfection progress to find that we officially hit our 75% target already. Oh, this made me wonder how close to true perfection we can get in the remaining time. I wandered over to the Crimson Badlands to see Alessia selling 2 more elixir recipes, which I'll need for crafting completion, and it's also worth noting that she sells explosive ammo cheaper too. I began day 390 by bringing Lance's favourite dish, which means we're now close to full hearts with him too. I made another batch of jelly as we were still working towards the golden clock, and then visited Krobus with some horseradish. I noticed today that he was now selling a new recipe, so I grabbed that because we're gonna need it to become a master chef. So I went home to put a void eel in the pond to breed for ingredients. On day 391, I went on a gifting spree and collected more hay as I was almost out. I wanted to have the farm decorated before day 400, but all I really ended up doing was filling in some parts because I got overwhelmed by the catalogue again. There's just so much here, alright? Way too many decisions. I did manage to do a bit of decorating in the house though, with a new bigger dining table for all of our 0 guests. On day 392, Lance was at my door asking me to come to Ginger Island at my earliest convenience, which of course I obliged. He took me to First Slash, which is located on Fable Reef, and immediately I saw that some of the forageables I needed to ship were located here. This place was awesome. I was introduced to some of the guild members, and we showed them the monster crops. But then when the cutscene ended, it took me back to Ginger Island. I tried to go back the way we came, but I couldn't get there. Well, I suppose nothing left to do but go home and grab that last starfruit harvest. To keep the spots watered for tomorrow, I planted coffee beans since I had so many of them. And then, of course, more wine! Being the last day of summer, I went to the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies to buy the sea and foam pudding and talk to everyone. Then we enjoyed the view as we said goodbye to the season. On day 393, the wizard was knocking to tell me I can now make the warp in his nexus to First Slash. But I didn't have time for that because it's the first day of a new season, so I need to pick up some seeds. Oh. Hurry up, Pierre! I didn't have many ingredients left that I needed to grow, so I bought some amaranth, a load of cranberries, a small amount of other crops, and an entire stack of pumpkins. I planted my ingredients and my cranberries at home. Then the pumpkins filled any gaps as well as the space on Aurora Vineyard and the Grambleton Fields. Day 394 was Penny's birthday, but when I went to the trailer, I got a couple of cutscenes. One where Pam yelled at us for cleaning, and one where Penny cooked something kinda questionable. Oh, and also the one where Pam tries the strong stuff. With that nonsense out of the way, I gave Penny her birthday diamond, which meant another friendship now complete. I then made haste to the wizards as I was dying to get back to Fable Reef to pick up the new forageables and to try catching that final fish. But then my inventory got full. I went home to empty, then returned to find this bubble spot which I spent the entire afternoon at, till finally. Oh my god. Master Angler. Oh my god. That feels amazing. That meant the next morning I woke up with a star drop in the mail. No, not that. Or that. There it is! After giving 30 void essence to my void eel, I set out this random line of kegs for more money, and then spent most of this day working on completing the crafting recipes. I had to get more materials from the Crimson Badlands, so I used this opportunity to test out the Haste Elixir and the Hero Elixir, and then went on a bit of a rampage, including taking on the big corrupted serpent again. Then finished the day with some mining in the Highlands Cave, except I kinda ended up dying. Luckily, I didn't lose anything. On day 396, I tried to catch Claire on her way to work to say hello, but I accidentally opened the trash can instead. I couldn't even make it up to her with a gift today. Let's pretend that didn't happen, and do something more productive. I was here to buy flower seeds for the tub of flowers recipe, which I went home to craft and set down in my house because it looks pretty. Every Friday and Sunday since the beginning of the year, I'd been checking the travelling cart for that rare crow, and I was always met with disappointment. On day 397, she finally had one, so the collection was officially completed. Afterwards, I went back to First Slash to see if there was anything else to do here, where I found this spare room which I now had permission to use. Jolene said that there was something I could do for her, so I dropped everything to go back and talk to her. And she talked about catching a torpedo trout, but there was no quest or anything in my journal, so instead I tried bringing her one, but still nothing. So yeah, I don't know, maybe the questline hasn't been written yet or something. Moving on, I went to Ginger Island to check on the shrub seed, having to clear out a load of weeds for the new season, but was happy to see the salal berries had grown, although I still didn't have enough for the berry pie. On day 398, I received the recipe for the deluxe scarecrow, so I went to craft it right away. Look at the radius on this thing. I was initially confused because I thought that this was my last crafting recipe for the achievement. I definitely crafted everything I'd already unlocked, so I must be missing something. I went to a couple of shops checking for crafting recipes but found nothing, so I went home to clear out the slime hutch and then to Ginger Island for my next lot of starfruit. I did also go to check on my perfection percentage again, but to my surprise, the number had barely moved and apparently I'd not got all the star drops. I was baffled. I thought I'd done it. Turns out, I'd not done the one with Old Master Cannoli, which I could have sworn I'd done already. To add insult to injury, the Secret Woods had only just been updated to add this damn maze before the statue. I loved the idea at first, until I needed to do it. It ended up taking me a few in-game hours, making it just before 9 PM. But hey, we got there, didn't we? Overnight, we got a visit from Angelica the Crop Fairy, but I don't like when I have the same crop done at different times, so on day 399 I ignored that and went to give Morgan a birthday void egg, which meant I got this cutscene doing magic together with them and the wizard. Back at the farm, I had wine day chores to tend to, and a buttload of truffles to sell too. The morning of day 400, Morgan was at my door, telling me about a test they have to take with the wizard today in the forest, and they wanted me to be there for it. The rest of my cranberries were now ready, so I harvested those, then chased Claire down with a sunflower on her way to work. Looking at my friendships now, I was so close to being done. Just a bit for the dwarf and Sandy, then just Martin lags behind. I realised I hadn't checked Robin's shop for crafting recipes recently, and there it was, the last recipe. I didn't have any marble at home, so I had to go to Clint's to open more geodes, and thankfully, it didn't take all that many to find it. I sprinted home to craft that brazier, and at long last, we got the Craft Master achievement. I didn't forget about Morgan's test, so I went to the forest for moral support, and this cutscene was really quite adorable. But as a result, my farm animals now produce higher quality stuff. Definitely wish I did this earlier. I popped to Mr. Key's walnut room to check the percentage again, and look how close we are. Annoyingly, the last thing we have to ship is a winter forageable, but for today, I did what I could to get as close as possible. I caught the squid using magic bait to cook fried calamari, bought the last cooking recipe from Marlon, cooking that right away. But that was as much as I can do on this day, so I went to bed for the 400th time. So, how did we do with our goals? The next day, I went to check the perfection tracker, and we ended on 89%. Of course, we knew I hit 75% on day 389, so I'd call this a major success. How about 5 hearts with all the villagers? Well, we know that my lowest friendship is Martin, and he sits at 6.5 hearts. Another win. My mod challenged me to get to floor 100 of Skull Caverns with no bombs and stairs, which we completed on day 324. We got all the obelisks and weird statues, and even though it was hard, we managed all the star drops too. That's 6 for 6, the first time this series that I hit all of my goals. Now, you didn't think I was just going to leave it here, did you? We had such a small amount to do for perfection. I decided to just go ahead and do it, since we wouldn't get another 100 days of gameplay at this point, so this is not the end. On day 401, I got enough berries to cook the berry pie, then struggled to catch the void eel from the pond. What was I doing? I cooked the void delight, which meant our last one was now the flower cookie, which has to wait till winter. Martin was in town, so he got a rabbit's foot. I slept till day 405, when I harvested my cranberries, gave Martin a gift, then went back to bed. Day 406 was a wine day, so I refilled the kegs and shipped the wine before giving a gift to Martin and the dwarf, resulting in another full friendship. I then went home to harvest my pumpkins, not forgetting my other locations too, but I didn't replant them this time. When I went to bed, we made 1.4 million gold, which means on day 407, I could build the golden clock. It was a Ginger Island starfruit day, so I replanted those in case I wanted them and went to bed. Days 408 to 420 were a repeat of sleeping till the days Martin comes to town, and waiting for him at the bus stop with a rabbit's foot. Finally hitting full friendship on the last day of fall. Another milestone complete. On day 421, I had some hot cocoa with Susan on my way to the summit to pick up those flowers I've been desperately waiting for. I went home to cook that flower cookie, getting the gourmet chef achievement, then shipped one of the flowers and went to bed, getting the full shipment achievement overnight. I rushed right over to Ginger Island to check the perfection tracker, and there it was, 100% perfection. I was so excited that I went back to bed. The next morning, I wasn't sure what to expect. This was my first time ever getting perfection, but the game did end up guiding me. I climbed to the summit to find Victor waiting for me. What a sight to behold. On day 423, we got the perfection cutscene. I couldn't help but feel a little bit emotional. I've poured so much love and time into this farm, and you guys have come along on this journey with me. I've learned so much, both with Stardew and with creating these videos. I'm not sure when the next time I'll revisit this farm will be, but maybe in time when there have been more big updates to Expanded and there's more to explore, maybe then I'll come back? Also, I've seen this before and I think it could be a fun idea, but please let me know in the comments if you think it would be a good shout to have all of the videos combined into one big mega movie of days 1 all the way up to 423. Maybe I'll put a poll out perhaps, but please do let me know your thoughts in the comments. Anyway, if you enjoyed the series, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much to my channel members, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!